Obviously, as these first 10 videos are about living in the world on different levels, without the physical plane, it would not be complete. So this video is about what we can do to learn how to keep track of visible changes which represent milestones in the structure of human civilization. Obviously, the shift towards green energy is one thing that we can see in the form of tidal wind power, but there are also changes in government policy which we should be able to see physically, and the rise of new people which show that we're heading into the Anthropocene. We can see the whole world on Google Earth, but as I have said before, it's not enough to understand it just from the overview perspective, and that's why these first 10 videos were made on different levels to bring it down from the overview through the geopolitical level, through the societies, through the effect on individuals, to the types of groups which exist, to the way people think, to the way people live and experience the situation. And now finally down at the physical level, we are assessing the actual situation we're living in, as in when we come out of our homes and go to work or go to school or go to university, then what becomes apparent is that on the physical level, we can see all of our worlds meet, as this interconnected web of activity is ultimately the world system that we have today. For this reason, we need to consider street level not only as the lowest, but just as important as all the others, because it is the common ground that we all share, the place all our doorways open onto. And if we consider the world system as made up of the UN and all the world's governments and all their departments and all the countries they serve and everything in them, thus the highest level is contained within the lowest and vice versa. So in reality, all the levels function as one. Considering the world system in practical terms, certain things must get done. Clean water must be supplied along with food, fuel, building materials, and governments to have other responsibilities, like schools and hospitals. So what will really be different about the Anthropocene? Many people just want to see the world improve and see this as the simple role of governments, regardless of what problems people face. Thus, as many changes related to the Anthropocene are already occurring, many people may not even notice this shift at all because of the integrated way in which the world is managed and how changes are implemented from the top level of politics down through the nation states. To many people, the way the world works is a closed door, something that they cannot understand from where they are. To people within government, it is all too obvious where the important offices are and what their departments do. Each country has its own structure marked out in its own language, so the people who work in it can see where things are. Governments are regularly audited to ensure public funds are not wasted or stolen, but there is still much room for improvement in terms of the way that they make decisions. And a lot of this has got to do with the feedback that they get from the public and the divide between the governmental level and the citizenship level. In the postmodern age, while it was possible for people to improve their position, there was still the need to adapt to what we could not change. And events had to play out their course. So now we're living in an age of more transparency within government. People want that door to be open, at least to the extent that they can see what's happening inside. But there's still a lot of departments and issues going on within government which they can't release to the public because they're not ready to deal with the feedback which they will get. So with the onset of the Anthropocene, there should be announcements of progress, celebrations, discussions of how the world could change, and how politics itself will need to adapt. Every now and then we'll notice a new government regulation, maybe a new initiative towards recycling, wants to make corporations cut their pollution, respect human rights, or to switch to green energy. And we can see that most changes at first will come from within the system itself, representing the more obvious first steps into a new age. But what will happen over time is as people start to adopt new methods, these incentives will become trends which run through societies as a whole and gather momentum as people start building on what has already been achieved. So right now the world is still in post-modernity, and the first part of the Anthropocene will have to evolve out of this. In recent years, one of the Anthropocene working groups videos on YouTube suggested that people are now living in the Anthropocene, but it will take time to prove their argument. Meanwhile, politics will have to manage the situation as it exists, and this is the main reason why nuclear weapons have continued to play a role in global security, despite many nations voting to ban them. Over time, we'll move into the next period and it will start to develop its own structure, which I've said before should move towards full equality between all nations, as only then can we address the issue of full equality between all people. As such, things are shifting away from the idea that the world must work in a particular way to the idea that different countries work in particular ways, in different ways, but these are more easily understood and they're becoming more regulated by international law. So much of all of this will depend on public awareness and people's cooperation. So the real question facing governments is right now is how much people are willing to change their lifestyle sufficiently to solve problems like global poverty, like global warming, and it looks like what happens in its early days will set the pace for future events. So things will have to change gradually if they're going to gather momentum. It looks like now we should try to get ahead on any issues that we can so as to make the situation move forward in an overall sense and just get the idea of it moving forward established, because this will make the shift happen. So people that are not living in or not conscious even of the age that they're living in, they are going to first of all have to realize that we do actually live in an age at any particular point in time, and the structure of the ages is ultimately what governs the way things change